Okay, hopefully everyone can see me and hear me. This is Ginger Williams. Oh, you won't be able to see me. You'll be able to see my desktop here as we look at a couple different images. But I'm going to check comments just to make sure everything is working good. It's been a while since I got a chance to do a live with everybody, and I'm looking forward to having a chance to say hello. I've been joining on Donna's lives as often as I can. But let's see here. All right, I can see there are some people here, but my comments aren't coming up. Let me fix that because I want to be able to interact today because we have a lot to talk about. Today's live is probably going to be a little longer than usual, but we'll get things working here and I can see comments. Okay. Got it. All right. So the first thing that you're looking at here is just kind of a bit of a preview of the first page of a die guide. And I'm going to put up here the third page of the die guide so you can get a better feel for what we're looking for when we're done today. And I still can't see all the comments, so I'm going to try this one more time on my iPad so that I can check this out. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'll try to get comments working later. So I apologize if for just a little bit I can't see your comments, but I'm going to work on that and see if I can get them going here. I hope you are all having a lovely National Scrapbook Day. I know that it's been busy around here for us for a couple of weeks as we prepare for it. But let me take you over to my crafting table and I'll show you the first step that we're going to work on right now. Oh, good. Here we go. Comments. Finally. Yay. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I'm going to wave hi over here. You can see me saying hi here. All right. Debbie, Sharon, Pamela, Christy, Kathy, Deborah, Cindy. All right. A whole bunch of fun folks here. Hi, ladies. See, I'm trying to watch your comments on my iPad here. And I can keep track of what's happening. All right. So today, a workshop. We're going to work together here. And it might take a longer time, but I hope that's a good thing today. So we're going to start. Hopefully those of you that are in our Facebook group, our private Facebook group, have had a chance to check out the die guide. Will you give me a thumbs up if you've actually already seen the die guide, maybe already printed it? I know a couple of you already even started. But the die guide is going to be our tool today to be able to take just a handful of papers I've picked out on the farm, because of course we're talking about On the Farm this weekend during its launch. 5 papers, as well as one piece of 8.5 by 11 white cardstock. And that is pretty much all we're going to use in terms of paper to create 6 awesome farm cards. Okay, let's see. Love the die guides. Awesome. Lots of thumbs up. Wonderful. Already printed. Okay. And if you haven't, that's okay. Feel free to print it out later and come back and work on it on your own once you've got the concepts down, or maybe you're a pro at it. I know many of you have done the die guides before. But the basic idea behind the die guides is that you can use up all of the paper with, well, tiny little waste. You want to see how much waste would be left at the end of today? Here's our waste. And there isn't much left. It's basically down to the skeletons of our little 6x6 papers here. So with very little waste, you can create all these cards and use up and maximize your 6x6 paper pads. You know, if I'm only using these 5 papers, you know, you get 24 papers in a paper pad. So you can get almost 5 die guides out of one of our 6x6 paper pads. And that means if you're getting 5 or 6 cards per die guide, depending on which die guide you use, and one of them I think number 2 makes 7 cards, then you can make a huge pile of cards to maximize what you get out of each kit. So just one potential way to use them. You'll notice that we have some contests running in our Facebook group, and that includes just simply doing the sketches on their own. You don't have to use them as part of a die guide, but you can just individually follow the sketches and make cards that way. Maybe you just want to make multiples of one, or maybe you only care for a couple of the layouts. That's one option as well. And those are also posted in the Facebook Royalty group under the Files tab or section, depending on if you're coming from a phone or a computer. All right, so here on my desk, you can see that I've already laid out the white cardstock option. Oh, and I should mention too, the other papers you will need are card bases. So I've prepared my 6 white card bases here, and so they'll be ready once we cut all of our papers out to be able to just slap our pieces on here and create. You can see that I have also got a section of pre-created shakers here. Those are some of our new on the farm or down on the farm. Can't remember exactly what we called it, but our farm kit. I've got some of these pre-made. And so you can do this either way. Some people like to take their kits and they will create their shakers first, and then they'll come back later and make cards. Other people like to do it the other way around. And so depending on which way you want to go, the die guides are also perfect for that, because you can create your shakers first and then come through with a die guide and add your shakers later. Or you can create your card bases and just hold on to them until you have, say, an event, or until you have a need for a card, and then you can customize the blank card with a shaker and a sentiment. So lots of fun options. Now, let's go back to this. So on the die guide, on page 3, page 2, sorry, this is page 1. Page 1 just shows you, which papers to choose from. I make suggestions that you don't have to follow, but for paper 1, I suggest a stripe of some sort. And for paper 2, dots or something that has a lot of multiple colors on it. And then for the next one, you want to pick, actually for the next 3, you want to pick coordinating colors that match your other 2 papers. So more of a solid or tone on tone to go with that. Okay, so once you've got your papers picked out, then you're going to start laying out your dies. And you can see all of the numbers. Those numbers coordinate with a foundation die set. So if you want to look for number 20, which is this big circle over here, you go to foundation set 20 and pull out the large circle there. Same thing with the other numbers here. They all coordinate a different set. This particular set is a little bit all over. In the past, I've tried to stick to using just a handful of foundation dies, but that gets harder and harder to do without repeating the same basic layout and design. So we're a little more all over, but don't worry. Say, for example, you didn't have one of these particular dies. Maybe you don't have set 10 or you don't have set 7. Feel free to substitute or just cut with a paper trimmer, something similar. So you'll run through the dies that you do have through your die cut machine, and then after that, you're going to go through and just from whatever piece of paper is left, you can, freehand something or use your paper trimmer to cut something similar. So don't feel like if you don't have one of these particular sets, that you're out of luck and that you can't participate. You absolutely can still use the die guides. Just have to do a little bit more of the figuring things out on your own. If you do have all of the dies we're using today, you're in good shape because you won't have to do any figuring out. I already did that for you. So let's run this first set through my die cut machine, and I am using a Big Shot Plus just for the ease of doing all this all at once. But you don't have to use a large machine. It absolutely will work on a smaller one, and you can't see it, but I've got a Cuttlebug with some plates. Plates fell on the floor. But right here next to me, and I have certainly done this in my Cuttlebug many times. I also have a regular Big Shot in the standard 6-inch size, and they all work just fine. But for the purposes today, I'm going to run this through my die cut machine all at once, and I'm going to use the Big Shot machine on both the 6x6 and on the 8.5x11 size. So it's a lot of dies to run through at once, so you're going to have to put some pressure down to make sure they stay in place. And sometimes I use a piece of tape right here. This is a low tack tape that can help me hold my dies in place. They're on a magnetic mat right now, and that helps, although I find my magnetic mat in my smaller machines works a little better than my magnetic mat in my Big Shot. They tend to jump a little more around the page with this one, so I tend to use this low tack sticky tape or a piece of washi tape a little more often. Okay, so first cut is done. Let's pull all of our dies out and get them out of the way. These dies are not repeated. They are one-time use in this particular die guide. You can see down here I've got my my sentiment strips, and they may or may not work for whatever sentiment you want to use, so feel free to save those for cutting out later if you don't want to be tied to a certain shape or size. Okay, so while I put this aside, I'm going to go scroll through your comments again. And, oh, you guys are so sweet. Oh, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. Tiffany is one of my crafting friends from way back when, and I'm so happy she's such a good supporter of what I do, because she helps me run through a lot of my ideas when I'm getting ready for stuff like this or coming up with new things. So now look, these didn't cut that well. That's one of the disadvantages of cutting all the way through in one pass, right on the edge. I didn't have quite enough pressure because all those dies were in there. Plus, this plate's a little bit warped, so I'm just going to redo those real fast. And if they come out wonky, that's okay. This is just plain white cardstock, and it's going to be easy to cut again. And number 11. Okay. Is anybody trying to go and do this along with me while we work? Let's see if I can get that in the right spot. I'll try running that through one more time and see if we get close enough, at least for a live demonstration, to be able to use those pieces. Crank that through. All right, those should cut a lot better this time since they weren't so close to the edge of my plates. Okay, dies out. And much better cut. I definitely do. Oh, and one of them ran away. Well, I'll grab it off the floor in a minute. Okay. I definitely do recut things from time to time if they don't cut right the first time, including occasionally putting in a shim or whatever I need to get enough pressure to get that cut out. All right, matter of fact, let me move these plates aside for a second. Oh, it didn't run away. It's still stuck in the die. Okay. All right. It's out of here. Hi, Dee. I heard that, Dee, you are in the hospital with family. I want to say hi to all of your family. Dee is amazing. We love her in our Facebook group. She brings a lot of cheer and happiness to a lot of people there. And I imagine she's doing the same thing with all of her family today. So thinking of you and your family, Dee. Hope things go well for you. I'm going to put all these totally aside. Like I said, we're done with these for today. So they're going out of the picture. But if you pull up your paper here, you can see that some of these dies do get repeated. For example, number 12, we're going to cut that from nearly every paper. And so when we go through the rest of these, you'll see the repeats. Now, to make this easier for me today, I went ahead and put my dies in different cases, just empty photo cases I had, in order to be able to be sure and make it fast. But if you haven't had a chance to pull them out and sort them, you can do it as we go here. All right, so back to cutting plates. We are going to start with the striped paper. So that is this one here. And the layout for that, I'm going to try to keep it in the frame while I put these out. All right. One thing you'll note too is that I labeled my boxes by what paper I was doing, but for ones that I was using a paper that's different than what is indicated, I actually labeled them to, dots. I'm not doing dots, I'm doing flowers. So that's one thing I found when using the die guides that makes it easier, is to go ahead and write down which paper you intend for my mock-up papers to be, and that way you can keep it straight when you go to cutting and you don't cut the wrong paper with the wrong dies. Okay. I'm going to lay these out here, a number 10, a number 2, a number 12, which is going to get heavy use today. And it doesn't want to quite stay at the edge, so I may actually use some of that tape in a minute. And a number 20. And again, like I said, suppose you don't have number 20. That's a simple little piece that you can trim out of the paper at the end of your cutting. All right, the flag from number 22 and the flag from number 4. All right, we'll put that box aside. So back to my low tack tape. And again, you don't have to cut them all at once. If you wanted to just cut a handful, and then after you run it through, get some other ones that are closer to the edge. Let me make sure these are straight. You can do that too and just cut a couple at a time. And that may make it easier to run it through your machine, or it may make it easier to keep things straight. I'm just going to use the tape because I like fast, at least when I'm going live. All right, well, while I tape these down, let me ask a question. I like to ask questions. I like to see the comments and learn all about you guys. We have a lot more in common than I realize sometimes. So question number 1, stamping platform or wing it? What is your preference? Are you a stamper when you're stamping out your sentiments who likes to be able to make it as perfect as possible by using a stamping platform? Or are you brave and ready to dive right in and ready to stamp again if necessary by doing it with just a clear acrylic block? I think you guys all know which one I am. Do you guys remember which one I am? You can put it in the comments if you remember how I usually stamp my sentiments. All right. That is loud. Sorry about it being loud. All right. Robin, you're asking, will the video be available to watch on YouTube later? Maybe. I'm not sure if we're going to put it on YouTube. However, it will definitely be available to watch on our Facebook page, not our royalty group, not our private Facebook group, but our main business page is where we're broadcasting today. And it has a video section, and all of our past lives are available to rewatch there. So if we've ever gone live on our business page, you can go back there and find it. Okay, so first paper is all cut. And I'm going to pull this tape off. And I like to reuse my tape, so you see me sticking it here to my die cut machine. I usually get several cuts out of each piece. But they were getting kind of gross. My old tapes were getting kind of nasty with little pieces of paper stuck to them. So to spare you guys all that, I actually put all of my old tape away and got clean, fresh new ones for the live. Alrighty. Now these dies we're probably going to use again. Oh, we didn't quite cut all the way through. That's the problem with having warp plates. I should have got new ones for that too. So maybe we'll go back to cutting just a handful at a time to make it faster and keep us from having to recut. All right. So one quick run through. So we have all of our papers. And then we will start setting up the dots paper, and for me that's going to be a flower paper. Okay, did anybody get it right? Did I use a stamping platform? Oh, I gotta scroll. Oh, that's a lot of comments. All right, yes. Save the tape. Stick it to your circuit, yes. Yep. Oh, Pamela, you even remembered exactly which one I use. Yes, my favorite is the mini stamping platform from We Are Memory Keepers. It is just a nice up-down technique that I prefer. Okay, there we go. Got it out of the die. And that number 10. All right, that cut better. All right, so I'm starting my little piles over here on the side. And that is all the stripes and all of the white cardstock. See how little is left? Maybe you could get something small out of that section, but it'd be hard pressed to do so. Let's set that aside and move over to our flowers. I'm going to move down here because I think my plate is a little less warped down here. And let's get our guide back. For my flowers, we're going to be using the polka dots here. And you can see one of the things that I figured out for you is how to make use of the center of the paper if it doesn't show. I tried to help us use and maximize even the very center of pieces. So in our next bin here, let's pull out our large number 3 die. And we'll get that kind of lined up down here a little better. Right towards the edges of your paper are going to be necessary. Okay. And then within that number 3 die, we're going to place this one, a number 19. You can see all of my marks. I do the same as Demodana in marking my dies so that I can always know what number they are. Okay. We have to find from the last set our number 12. Okay. And then our number 8. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Sorry, I'm looking at the pink one. Sorry. 12. Oh yeah, and an 8. Okay, they both just have 8s and 12s. Okay. And this isn't too tight a fit, so you've got a little bit of extra room here. I'm going to squeeze these out just to spread them out just to make it a little less hard to stay on the paper there. Okay, and then down at the bottom, back to our number 20 again. Oh, and I see what I missed. Okay, I'm like, that is a lot of space. I knew I was maximizing better than that. We're going to scoot these all over a little bit because along the side is this really skinny number 8. And he's going to need tape to help him stay in place. So we'll get to that in a second. All right, number 20 down here like this. All right. And then in the very center, we've got 2 flowers, a number 11 flower and a number 9 flower. we're going to really maximize our paper, getting like 1, 2, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, if you count both flowers, out of that same piece of paper, really, that if you weren't planning ahead, you might not be able to think about how to get that little extra piece cut out. Now, some of you are experts at that. I know some of you are amazing at saving your paper so that it doesn't, you know, those middle pieces actually do get used by some of you, but I have to plan ahead for that. Most of the time, I don't plan ahead enough, and so I end up actually with pieces, with most of my layers are just totally layered on top of each other, and it's a big waste. So it's a shame that, let's see, one more piece of tape. Shame that that happens most of the time, but my brain planning ahead, I have to do it visually on the computer like I do with the die guides. All right. I'm going to send this through front and back this time, so hopefully that will also help me avoid any of those not cutting all the way through. Okay. And back again. Let's see how we did. Okay, I think they cut better this time. Good, good, good. All right, save the tape. And we'll get ready to move on to our next one. Creating our new piles here. This number 12 is one of my favorite dies, but I need to use it more often because I forget sometimes that this one, I mathematically figured out how exactly what size you would need of a die, that if you cut 4 of them in the same exact, or out of different papers, that they would fill up the background of an A2 card perfectly with just a little bit of a white border in between. Use my poker tool for that one. It tends to get stuck. This die, for whatever reason, the paper just always wants to get stuck in there. So we'll give it a little poke. Come on. I'm going to poke all the way through. It's so tight. Here it comes. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and poke all the way through. It's being stubborn because I'm live. There we go. Doesn't matter if I poke all the way through because we're going to cover up the middle anyways. But it looks good. All right, last couple of dies here. You can see how the tape really helps hold all of that very securely so they don't move around on me and I get exactly what I want in the cuts. All right. New pile here. And a new pile of dies. Put my tape back so that I know where it is. All right. Ready for the next paper. All right. You're right, Suzette. Wax paper would help that come out easier. But normally it doesn't get that stuck, but I think it's just because it knows I'm live. Okay, next paper. I'm going to use this red bandana paper in order to do this magenta colored one here. So we'll start out by getting our number 3 die back out again. And again, we're going to use that die, but we're also going to maximize the inside of it by putting several different things in there. And let's see, let's open up our next container for the dies that we need for this one. Unique dies, at least. Number 20 here on the edge. And a number 8, again, that really skinny number 8 in between. And a number 20 at the bottom. Okay, and again, I'm going to need that tape to get things to stay in place. All right, especially this one. This one's a bit of a tight fit in order to make sure that number 8 and the number 20 don't overlap. So I'm going to get it right down at the very bottom and right at the corner too. And this, you can see how it warped a little bit going through the machine. Just bend it right back. There, now it's going to stay a lot better. Same thing, my number 20 is just a little bit warped from prior use. Okay. Go ahead and tape those down. They don't matter quite as much if they're straight or not because the pattern is wild enough that if I'm a little off, no one will know. Okay. Back through the machine again we go. You know, this step feels a little tedious to be cutting all of your papers over and over and over again. But the good part is that when we finish, and we've only got 2 more to do after this one, that you have fast and easy afterwards. So if you can just get through the cutting, it's worth it, I promise. All right, Well, I take these apart. Let's do another question. Let's do adhesives. Dry versus wet. Do you have a favorite? What do you, if you could only choose one, would it be a liquid or would it be something dry like a tape runner? What is your preference? Drop a comment and let me know. And even though I'm missing a lot of them, I'll go back and catch them later. Although I can see a lot of them right now too. Shelly says dry. Let's see. Yes, you're right. Exactly, Carol. Once they're cut, they go together really fast. I contemplated doing the cutting ahead of time. I've done that in the past for you guys. And I wanted to make sure that if you're new to this concept, or if you're if we want to work along, it is considered a workshop today, right? If we're working together, you guys have time to do it with me. Okay, next paper is going to be blue, which is represented by this pink one up here. So let's go ahead and grab its next box. Oh, you guys probably said it, and I probably missed it in the comments. I missed the center, didn't I? It's okay. Let me get all of my dies that are supposed to be in the middle of this one, and we'll cut it again. Because you're right. You probably called me out on it, and I didn't even catch it. Okay, so a number 11, a number 9, a number 2 flower, and our little banner die. Okay, now I've got them more in place. And there's quite a bit of coverage on the sketch that we cover here, so you don't have to be too exact with those. Okay, now we'll get all our pieces. I'll have to read your comments closer. Make sure I don't miss any more. All right, through the machine and back through the machine. That handle is on the opposite side from me because I have a tendency to hit myself with it when I'm trying to do lives. So I figured I'd put it on the opposite side. So I'm sorry if you have to look at my arm for a minute, but okay. Let me get my piles straightened out here. Okay. And these guys. And let's poke those guys out. Out of the center. Here we go. See, that one comes out easy. But this guy... Oh no, now he's not fighting me at all. So just the one time, just because I was doing it live. Okay. Alrighty. You guys are awesome. Okay, so what's the verdict? More wet or more dry? Lots of tape runner. Tape runner. Wet if you need it though. Art glitter glue, that's my favorite. I'm more of a liquid than a dry. But it looks like I'm not necessarily in the majority. Lots of good people. Pamela, you asked how you use wax paper. So with that die that was sticking, if I needed to, I could put my paper down, then a small piece of wax paper, and then the die, and that can help it not stick. Especially if you have a really fine detailed die, especially a large one, that can be a good trick to help make sure that your paper cuts don't get stuck in the die. Okay. Next. Back to our blue paper. All right, a number 3. Let's find that again. Oh wait, that's one we haven't used yet. From the box, here we go, number 3. And a number 8, which we have used. Pull that out here. A number 12, which we've definitely used a whole bunch. Okay. You'll see how those number 12s come together as we get to the sketches. And a number 4, which is in my box. See my label so I could keep track of which paper was which, especially when you're live. You have a tendency to get flummoxed sometimes. All right, number 4. We'll get those straightened up and fitting better in a second with the tape. And a number 21 down here. And I need my number 20 again. At the bottom, plus now my flowers. Let's grab that one. This one and this one. Okay. Now we'll get things into better position and hold them down. All right. And make sure you can see what I'm doing. Don't go off camera. Okay. More tape. And then just one more to cut, and then we can have the real fun. Scoot that over. Okay. one thing you want to be careful of is you really do not want your dies to climb on top of each other while they're running through your machine. That can actually bend or damage the edges of your dies. So that's another reason I prefer to really make sure they're in the right position with tape so that they don't climb on top of each other as they kind of jump around as you run through the die cut machine. Okay. Straight enough for demonstration purposes. Okay. And I'll hold those flowers down too. I have done that before. Actually bent a die by pushing it through the machine when it jumped on top of another die. So don't want to do that. All right. Into the machine we go again. You know, if you use enough tape too, especially if you use more like a masking tape, you can actually do multiples. So suppose you wanted to do 3 or 4 different takes of the same die cutting guide, then you can actually go ahead and tape that together, pop your papers out, and then grab another piece of paper and run it through again. Okay, moved around a little bit on me, but that's okay. It won't show in the final. Okay, we'll gather these out and move on to our last paper. All right. Flummoxed, yes. My mom says that. Is it my mom or my dad? Probably both say that sometimes, Dee. Let's see. Okay. Looking at comments again. What did I miss? Oh, mounting squares. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So mounting squares are something I use a lot of too, but I don't know if I could give up the dry or the liquid adhesive and go only mounting squares, but I'm like Marianne. I heard Marianne saying earlier today that she should own the company. We should own it together. We both buy huge amounts of the foam tape. So yeah, if I could only have one, it would be hard not to have my foam tape. Okay. And our flowers. We'll poke those out. Okay. All right, one more question. All right, food and drink in the craft room. Yay or nay on that one? Is that something that you're willing to do and risk, or is it a no? Drop a comment and let me know. Well, see, now this one wants to fight me too. I even poked right through it. Well, I'm going to poke it right out so we can hurry up because we got to get moving. We have cards to make, a bunch of cards to make. But you're right, I'm going to need some wax paper on that one. Okay, but we are going to cover the centers up, so if that happens, it's not a big deal. And last flower. All right, final paper. I don't know why. Is that just really satisfying to anybody else to look at that and be like, okay, I really can't do much with that. It's okay to send it to the trash heap. All right, so for our final paper, which is going to be this green one here, I'm using a yellow paper, and we'll get our pieces laid out here. Here's the last couple of dies that we're going to need. So a number 19 right here. And a number 20 right there. Let's find our handy number 12 again, which again is getting bent out of shape, but easy fix. That kind of bending is not a problem. If it goes through your machine and has a little warp to it, that's easy to bend right back. It's the on top of each other dies that you really want to avoid. Okay, 11 and number 9. Hope we got to save room at the bottom for that skinny number 8 again. There it is. Get him on there. Looks like it's going to need tape though. All right, don't need this one. Did I get them all this time? Okay, I think so. Didn't? Oh no, I didn't. I skipped the number 20. There it is. Okay, we're ready to scooch over. Okay, tape this down again. And here we go. Especially when I get this little tiny skinny one. This die I actually use all the time. even though it's tiny, it just gives you the right little tiny accent in order to be able to add a tiny pop of color or whatnot to whatever project you're working on. Okay. Grab another piece of tape down here. Make sure those stay. Okay. Last one. All right. Who's actually creating today? Those of you watching, not necessarily doing the die guide, but how many of you are actually making cards or scrapbook layouts? It is National Scrapbook Day. I used to be a huge scrapbooker. Nowadays, I don't do it as much as I used to. Maybe more like once a year if I'm lucky. But I used to do it all the time. Card making kind of took over when I started designing a little more for Queen & Company. But okay, there we go. See what I mean about that thing hitting me sometimes? That's why it's over there. All right. When I'm not doing a live, I orientate it the opposite direction, and then I don't get hit by it. All right, 12 and 20. Here we go. Hurry this along because we got cards to make. Okay, here's our yellow pieces. Oh, this part makes me so happy. Okay. New pile. I'm gonna have to move all these dies out of the way when I move the die cut machine. And that skinny little number 8. Look at that. I was really close to the edge on that one. Poke this out. All right, put that aside. See if we have better cooperation out of our yellow paper. A little bit. There it comes. Almost. All right. Well, apparently I picked the wrong flower to do a live with, but here we go. Like I said, the centers don't matter because I think we should have had them add more of the poke holes in the petals would have been better. But again, next time I'll know better and I'll use the... Come on. It really does not want to come out. All right, well, we'll get to that in just a second. This one's going to come out easier. Okay, yellows. Now, moving die cutting machine away. And all of our dies, except for you, because I still got to get the flower out. I have a whole bunch of magnetic trays over here. We're just going to set those over there so they don't escape on me before I have a chance to put them all away. All right. And flower, come on now. It just knows that I have things to do today. So I'm probably going to mutilate this a little bit. It won't look great, but we'll get our flower out for today. There it comes, finally. Okay. Sticky today. I don't know why. Look how bad that looks. Now, normally I would recut that, but to finish up today, we'll go ahead and use it. Okay, so next step we're going to do is we're going to pull out the next page of our die guide, which is our sketches. And you can see that we can grab from each pile and be able to set up our cards. So let's start with number 1. You can see we're going to need our card bases, so let's pull those back out. So card base, we're going to be looking, remember that I told you the polka dot one for me was flowers, right? So that's going to be this one right here. And I'll center that on that card. And then a large rectangle number 11 from our cardstock right there. And then the green for me is yellow. So that is number 19, like that. And then we have several of those little small strips across the bottom, including, nope, not that one, stripes in the middle. And the pink for me is blue, so there's a blue one right there, followed by a red at the bottom. All right, there we go. And then the flowers, okay? So, cut from the floral paper is one of these large flowers, followed by a red medium-sized flower. We've got 3 flowers, 3 different sizes of flowers today. And then in the center is going to be a blue small one. So there's that one. And here at the bottom layer is pink, which for me is blue. So there's blue, followed by a medium one in the patterned, and then a small red. Okay, and then we have a little flag up there from the red, and that's card number 1. All I have to do is glue it down and add whatever my focal point is. In this particular card, it's going to be the horse, and then stamp sentiment. I might do that before gluing down. Okay, so we'll set him aside. Next is number 2. See how fast that was? All right, so we have in the red this large background piece, number 3, and then from the blue, this piece across, from the yellow, another one across the middle, and from our patterned like this. Actually, this one's going to go on top, so let me put that a little further south for just a minute. Okay, so to hold your focal point, you'll have this, and to cover up all the cutting we did in the back paper that no one will ever know about besides you and me. And then out of the blue, and this of course would be optional, you wouldn't, I won't report you to the Queen and Company police if you alter my sketches and do it differently. That's okay. So now this will actually go on top of that, depending on, it depends on what center point or focal point you're going to put there. All right, flowers. Let's talk flowers again. So out of the yellow, that's our wonky one. But like I said, the center gets covered up at least by the blue, and then I should have one more of the small reds, which maybe I had to put in the wrong spot, or maybe I didn't cut it. You have to cut the red one twice. I forgot to mention that as we went through the thing. So from the red one, you'll have to use that small die in your middle piece to cut it again. So I won't take the time to do that, but just imagine that I had you go through and put that small little die right here and cut it through a second time. You only have one of those dies, so you do have to actually cut that twice, and I totally forgot to mention that. So just pretend for today that we did that. Okay, and that'll be our flower here. We'll put something else in the center there. Okay, and then at the bottom, again, you'll maybe want to customize this depending on what your sentiment is, but if you find something that fits there, and I did, I'll show you that in a minute, then that one is perfect for that. Plus you also have a little tiny banner just to give it a little more flair, and that is sketch number 2, ready to be put together. And again, it will depend on just which shaker or other type of focal point you put on there, whether or not you might put this underneath or on top. I'll show you what I did there in a second. Okay, number 3, sketch number 3, another card base. And these are just, I took an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock and cut them in half. The majority of my card bases are that way. I don't usually pre-buy them. Okay, so number 20 is our base piece, followed by this piece number here, number 8. Next is our fun little patterned paper flowers. Oh, nope, not next. Wrong again. Okay. Now our striped banner, and that is going to anchor. Oh no, I was right the first time. Okay. Underneath, then the banner goes on top. There we go. Okay. And this really fun background piece right here from one of our newer sets, number 23. I really love the shape on this one. Just gives a little fun extra flair. Okay. And then our sentiment here is going to go right along the bottom. So we'll move this up a little bit. And then just the flowers. This one just uses what's left of the flowers at this point. One here and one down here. And that is all you need for sketch number 3. So you can see how all the die cutting is totally worth it. Okay, because when you get to this point, you're just flying. Okay, sketch number 4. So let's organize those pieces. You have in the background, let's see, a number 20 and a number 3. Make sure I get the right one. These are similar. Your number 3 is going to be the longer one, okay? So number 3 along the bottom, number 20 on top of that, and then just to give it a little more pop of those fun papers, I really like how the flowers add visually to these. So you can see I try to get a little bit of the flowers on each one of these cards somewhere. All right, your banner piece. And then remember that when you cut, you're going to have two large circles. Number 20 is the larger one. So that's going to go here. And then your little banner piece for your sentiment, somewhere around there. All right. And that is it for sketch number 4. All right. Number 5. Now, after we organize all these, we are going to build cards. So if you're, working along with me and you're like, wait a minute, we didn't glue anything down, that's still coming. No worries. Okay. All right. So sketch number 5. We've got our number 10 piece here. And then we're going to have a couple of these really skinny ones along the side. So flowers and red. And I'm missing yellow. Okay. So those will be all along the side. Oh, but this is the wrong one. Maybe I cut the wrong one. I'll have to go look and see. Maybe I should have used a wider one when I cut that one out. But it'll still work. Number 8. All right. And then this piece down here along the edge. And then the number 10 white is hiding. Here it is. Goes right. Oh, banner first. Your number 21 banner in the corner. Like that. And then that one is ready to go. Okay. I'll double check my die guide, but I think I just grabbed the wrong, when I was cutting that one, I probably used the wrong number 8. We should have used the slightly fatter one. But I'm pretty sure the die guide indicates that I just did it wrong myself. Let's look at that. Yeah. So I used the skinny one, but I should have put that fatter one in. But that's okay. It'll still work just fine the way it is. All right. And the last one here, we've got our number 12s all in a row, making this really fun and easy background. And let's see. Oh, I was like, how did I get green? Double-sided paper. Okay, here we go. That plus this. All right. Sentiment down here. And that is how you would sort all of your papers to be ready to start making your cards. Now, previously to all that cutting, I already cut all of these out. So you can see that I planned what they would go with. So I've got my shakers all assembled. I've got my little embellishments in here. And so if you want to stick with me, I'm actually going to put all these together. And we'll see how they all turn out once they get all of their shakers on them. But that is how you use the die guides, just so you know. And, as an aside, let me show you something too. As I plan the die guides, I asked, or at least I intended to ask, how do you store your foundation dies? Do you store them by shape, or do you store them by foundation number? Now, if you use our sketches a lot, you probably do like I do and store them by number. But this is something else that I do on top of that to make designing sketches and cards easier, is I just bought some really inexpensive generic electronic cutting mats on Amazon, really cheap. And I cut out all of my shapes, and then I organize them by shape. So I have the dies up on my wall on magnetic frames by number, but then I have all of these cut out by shape, so I can have a better feel for what I'm looking for and how it might correlate to other dies that are similar. So we have a lot of foundation dies. You can see how many we have here. I haven't even cut out the new retro dies to add to these yet. But if you're wondering, what can I layer on top of another? Sometimes it's very handy to have your shapes all cut out, and so you can get a visual on that. So these are, tacky mats, so everything just peels right up, and then I can add it back down. And if we come out with new foundation dies, I can redo them easily because they are sticky back, right? So that's how I store my cutouts, and then I peel them off as I work to figure out, what card sketch I'm designing or what card I'm designing. And then once I have it all figured out, then I'll go over to my dies, and actually this is my favorite page right here. So look these are all of our sentiment banners. So if you've ever looked at a stamp, let me pull out our stamp set here. You can see how lovingly used these are. And you're wondering, okay, which banner would this fit best on? You can actually just pull up all of your cutouts, and then you're like, oh, look, that would look really cute on that one, or this one is long and skinny, so I need a long and skinny. What's the best long and skinny for whatever stamp? So I do recommend, even if you don't want to cut out anything else, maybe cut out your sentiment strips, and that way when you're ready to roll with stamping, you can easily figure out which number you need to cut. So just thought I'd share that because it's been a game changer for me. I started doing that, oh, I don't know, maybe not even quite 6 months ago. And it's been a super handy tool. I keep them in a little portfolio. Keep them right by my desk. Okay. Let's see what we got. So this would be sketch number 2. So let's make our chicken card. And I got to pull up my card bases again. So, like I said, I'm more of a liquid than a tape runner, although I have a tape runner and I use my ATG, can't even remember how I say it. I use that tape runner a lot, but I like the fast and easy of liquid occasionally. More often. Okay. So, there we go with our red pattern paper. And you notice the back of mine, these papers that I cut previously were before the paper pads were in. So these are prototype papers, so you'll notice that they are not double-sided. There's just plain white on the back. Yours papers will not be like that. You will have double-sided. Mine, I had to actually print off at home. So, okay, number 4. So if you're wondering, why are those different? These are just prototype papers. Not quite as nice as the printed papers from the printer, but they get the job done for now. Let's go forward with that. And our number 20 strips. Get that going. My only thing I don't like about liquid glue is the clogs. And I keep a pin in it, and that helps, but still, after a while, you just always seem to end up with a bit of a clog that I have to work it, go take off the lid and clean it out. It doesn't take too long to clean it. And the clogs only happen, let's see, oh, I'm going to hold off on that one, every couple of months, but they always seem to happen right when I'm trying to finish something in a hurry. Okay. Have you guys noticed all of the giveaways in the Facebook group that are happening? There is a big paper giveaway. I'm going to go a little bit further down with that because we got a banner piece to put there. Make sure I saved enough room for that. I did. Okay. And there's also a bunch of gift card giveaways in there. There will be, let's see, by later today, all 3 of the gift card giveaways will have posted, as well as the grand prize giveaway of the giant paper pad bundle. So if you love our paper pads, I think it's a whole dozen that we're giving away in that giveaway. So be sure and check those out in the Facebook group if you haven't already. All you have to do is answer the question that is asked for each of the giveaways in order to be eligible. And one of my favorites is they asked about how you store things, and going through the answers and seeing all of everyone's clever ideas is always so inspiring. So, okay, sentiment. We'll get that in a minute. So right along the bottom here. Now, like I said, depending on what shape you decide to put on there, you might want that underneath. But I'm going to put our beautiful, fun little chicken. Isn't she cute? Or he. Could be either one, I guess. Right there. So I thought it was kind of fun to have that show. And then our flower. Now, oftentimes I'll put this together with foam tape. But for today, while we're just in a hurry, we'll glue our little layered flower together and just fluff up the petals so that we can be fast. All right. So that's our flower. We'll give it just a little fluffing. And you can see I've chosen just a couple of little button embellishments to put on this card. We'll keep this one simple. See how the legs are attached to the back like that? And also the little, I don't know, feather piece up there? I don't know. The feathers up there. Same thing, just attached to the back of the head, back of the body. And you can see the eyes. There are die cuts in the kit for the eyes, but recently I've turned to this instead. This is just fabric dimensional paint, puff paint we used to call it as kids, and it sure makes a nice fast and easy dot of the eye, so long as you're willing to wait for it to dry. That can be a good option. All right, let's glue our flower down. We're going to put it right there. And then I've got our buttons. I'm going to put one of our new fabric buttons right in the center there with a glue dot, and another little button just as an accent. And then, oh wait, and our sentiment, forgot. So I already pre-stamped all my sentiments out. But here we go. Hope your day is filled with fun. Perfect for birthday or any other special occasion that someone is having. All right, glue dots. And get these buttons put down. So button, oh, I put the wrong one in the wrong space because that is going to overwhelm that poor little flower. Hold on. You over here. And you need a smaller glue dot. Okay, try that again. Okay, put that glue back on. Okay, and like that. All right, did I get the banner? Yep, I did. Okay, all right. First card, totally finished, front, from cutting all the way through gluing. All right, we'll put that one aside. All right, what have I got? My next dish here. Okay, this is going to be number 5 down here. So card base right here, and let's get to gluing. What do you guys think? Do you like how fast that came together? Oh, I need to do better at scrolling through your comments, you guys. Sorry. Dimensional eyes using paint. Best tip today. It really is a great tip. I don't mind cutting out those little tiny eyes, but trying to keep track of them, and I always cut them with a double stick adhesive on the back, so all I have to do is peel and stick. But it seems like I still have a hard time getting them to keep track of. They're just tiny. And you need tiny, because if you give them too big, I'm not sure the animals look quite as cute with the bigger eyes. I'm going to move that over just a touch. Okay. And up just a touch. Okay. I think that's part of the reason I like the liquid as, you know, more often liquid. Is that if I need to wiggle it a little bit, I can. All right. And now you can see when I cut this out earlier, I did it correctly. There's my fatter number 8 and my skinnier number 8 next to each other. So get those down. Liquid, of course, is particularly good for these skinny strips. All right. This one right about here. Move that down a little bit. Okay. Now this one. All right. While I'm gluing, how about, of those watching today, have any of you used to be a bigger scrapbooker than you are now? I know most of you are card makers now. Did any of you start out? You know, I'm going to move those close to each other. I just like the way that looks. Did any of you start out in scrapbooking and then move to card making just like me? Or are most of you start out just with cards and have stuck to cards? Or are you mostly a scrapbooker and are just looking for tips and shakers and fun things to be able to add to your layouts? Whichever it is, I'd like to hear it in the comments. All right, little banner here. This card is going to hold the tractor shape from our On the Farm kit. And sometimes I'll use, I've got a sentiment already stamped here, and probably I would normally use some foam tape. But to get done quick, I'm going to leave it flat today. But if you've seen my samples online, I tend to use a lot of dimension, especially behind sentiments. But if you're intent on getting done fast, you can skip that step and just go straight to gluing. All right. And hey there. Hey is in hey to eat. You can see I did cheat a little bit. So we'll see if I can cheat. You can cheat on my sketches too. Here is a little strip that I'm going to add right actually to the tractor to give a little bit of a birthday feel instead of just a hello feel to this one. But you can, of course, improvise the sketches to fit whatever it is that you're making, whatever shapes that you're trying to add to them. Change out one die for another or skip one. Will still work beautifully. All right. And happy birthday. Added right to the tractor. The tractor makes a real nice masculine option or feminine, depends on who you're giving it to. But my mom grew up on a farm, and the tractor always makes me think of my grandpa, because when we would go visit, he was often out in the fields with his tractor. All right, so you can see for embellishments here, I've picked out a couple of fun little buttons I thought might be fun to add. Anyone else have a farmer in the family? Let's see, maybe we will just use a couple of these. What do you think? Maybe, yeah, maybe just those. We'll go with that. Just a couple buttons. So, okay, let's see. My family told me I need another paper pad like I need another chocolate chip cookie. I told them I agree. That is the right answer, definitely. I have a paper and chocolate edition just like you do, definitely. And if you can actually use up your paper pads like this, you're going to need more paper, definitely. If you use the die guides, you're going to be cruising through all that paper in no time, right? I probably have enough paper to last more than a lifetime, but I'm probably not the only one. Okay. All right, last button. Let's use a bigger one. All righty. Happy birthday. All done. All right. And a spare button that I didn't use. Next dish. These dishes are just a little like individual baking pan. Like if you're doing like, I've never used them for baking, but I guess there are people who will bake individual servings in individual dishes, and that would be adorable. But I use mine to hold all my supplies when I'm doing a live, so I stay organized. I don't use them when I'm just working on my own, but to help stay organized when you're doing it in front of everybody else, they are lifesavers. Okay, or if I was going to do a whole bunch, like if I was prepping for a craft night at my house or something with Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany, if you're still there. We do that sometimes. That could be a fun way to make sure I keep my pieces together and do this. Some of you got to meet Tiffany last year. I think it was National Scrapbook Day, right, Tiffany, last year? I had you come join me in my craft room, and she helped demo my very first die guide. I was very nervous to explain how a die guide would work, and so I had Tiffany come. She helped me not be quite so nervous and helped answer questions, and we got to make cards together. That was really fun. Okay, so this one right here that we're working on is going to be, I covered it up. No, I didn't. This is going to be this sketch right here, number 1. Okay. So at least a few of you with farmers in the family, or one, I see at least one, I grew up on a farm. Okay. First background piece. You can see with this one, I pre-stamped out my sentiment before assembly. It makes it a lot easier. So if you want to do that, you can kind of get a better feel for the positioning on it by looking at this one here. This is one of the few times where stamping ahead of assembly would be really, really useful. But you don't have to do it that way. You could also get another piece of paper out and cut a different shaped sentiment banner. And that would work just as well. But usually my sentiment is the very last thing I'm figuring out with a card. Well, I shouldn't. It's the first thing I figure out usually. I want to figure out what type of card I want to make. Am I making a birthday card? Am I making something else? It just depends. But it's usually the last thing I add to a card. Because usually I'm trying to figure out, okay, you know, placement of shaker, placement of all the little, things to make the card flow. I like to have, a good visual flow around my card. And I usually save a space for the sentiment. But figuring out exactly which banner to stamp it on and where it will go is usually one of the very last things that I do. And then the very last thing I add. Okay, we'll get our 3 strips on here. You can see how, with my generic Queen & Company colors that I use when I design the sketches, they can have a very different feel than what you actually get when you're finished, based on which paper pad you choose. You can go from kind of a soft feminine feel to these bright colors like we have with this particular kit, or you can pull out like the music kit and you've got those deep colors, florals. Depends on, you know, what mood you're looking for, but you can have a whole set of cards and do a whole nother set from a different paper pad. And even though it's the same sketches and the same layouts, it has a totally different vibe and feel to it. And you feel like even though same general layouts, they are totally different. All right, let's see how we do with our paper flowers here. One of the things I love about paper flowers is if I have a small enough pattern, cutting out some of the layers of the flowers with a multicolored paper can actually be really fun. You can kind of see the vintage vibe, almost 1920s fabric feel that you get from these pretty flowers once they're all layered up together. I considered when I was designing these papers actually going with a very Depression era 1920s, 1930s fabrics, because I thought that would be kind of a fun feel, but I went a little brighter. I have a hard time going quite as muted as some of those kind of are. All right, flower number 1. But I do love those. Maybe someday we'll do one. We'll do a 1920s vintage style paper pad from like the old flour sacks. They are so pretty. Okay, almost done. My glue, you can tell, is starting to run low. It's making that fun air sound. I need to get one of Marianne's glue holders that holds it upside down. Keeps it all down at the tip instead of all at the bottom. Did you guys see her glue holder? She's showed it in a couple of her lives. And I'm like, oh, that is smart. And even though I keep remembering it every time I see her live, after the live, I rarely remember to think of it again. Okay, and you can see that in my dish I had a couple little embellishments. So I'll pull out glue dot here. Got a couple left. Get those down. Red on this one, I think, and yellow on the other. These glue dots are kind of old and they're kind of sticking. Time to pull out my fresher ones, I think. They don't want to come off the paper too well. Oh, and of course, we have to get our horse on, right? I saw Marianne, too, also say that what a cute idea it would be to get a unicorn out of the horse. And I have to admit, I didn't even think of that when I was making him. Let's see, how about right about here? But that would be awesome. Alrighty. Third card done. Oh, I should leave them all where you can see them. There's the tractor card, too. Okay, next card. Card base. Let's see what's in this one. Yep, that's what I thought. This one will be a fast and easy one. It has a little bit fewer parts. I'm going to use the barn on this one. It's a nice big circle. And you know, if you had a smaller shaker, or maybe you were just doing something like the pig or whatever, maybe you would use a smaller circle if you wanted to adapt it that way. But for this nice large shaker, it's going to be fun to use the barn on that large circle. All right, let me empty my pieces out. Get the dish out of the way. We have lots of fun embellishments that would work well besides these fabric buttons. But I have to admit, the fabric buttons, look at that. The plaids in red and blue, that's exactly the plaids, or the gingham in the paper pad. They match really well. So they're a little bit lighter blue in color, but they still look really cute. And I was thrilled when I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that, but they make a perfect farm embellishment for these cards. You'll see I used them a couple different times on my samples when the kit launched, as well as these today. All right. And red. Okay, so that looks good. One more here. One more question for you guys. Do you print and organize any of the sketches? I'd like to know if anyone does that, and if so, how are you organizing them? Do you have a binder? Do you do it digitally on your computer? What is the way that you like to keep track of those sketches? And do you print out just the numbered ones, or do you still like the ones that just coordinate with just like say one foundation die? Which ones are your favorite too? Do you like having ones where you only need one foundation die, or do you like to mix and match with the numbered sketches? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe down just a little more. Okay. And our little banner here. Personally, I have all mine printed, and I do have mine in a binder. But for a while, I was doing them all digital on my computer, but I'm just a tactile person. You know what, I'm going to wait till I have the barn. Let me take that glue off. Let's do the barn first before the cinnamon. And I like to be able to see and touch. And so I have mine all printed out in a binder, a pink binder, of course. It has to be pink. It's Queen & Company. All right. Barn. Got the glue off my fingers onto the barn. All right. Oh, a lot of people with binders. Plastic sleeves, 3-ring binders, sheet protectors in a notebook. Nice, okay. Oh, I'm so happy that you guys are finding them useful. When I first started doing them, I just wasn't sure. I like that kind of thing. I like sketches, especially when I was a scrapbooker. I used page maps and other sketches all the time. All right, this may have to get trimmed just a little bit. That's okay. There is room for that. Find scissors. When I wiped the glue off the back of my sentiment, I got it on my fingers, and now it's on the card. But there we go, got it off. So I'm just going to trim that out. Trim that off. There we go. All right, now just a couple embellishments, and we'll be done. So gingham buttons. I think there's a whole bundle, I think, still with the buttons. You get the stripes and the gingham and the polka dots, and I use the polka dots a bunch on these cards too. And the stripes on the chicken card. Stripes. There's one there. So those fabric buttons are perfect embellishments for this kid. All right, and a red. All right, and then these little ones. Let's grab a new sheet of glue dots for those. Hopefully this one's not as dried up as the other one was. Oh, that seems better. And we'll get those stuck down. What was it Marianne said? Was it clusterize? I can't remember her word, but yes, I do love to totally cluster. Oh, I'm going to move that yellow one down here by the red so we don't get blue by blue. I think Marianne said she liked to put her colors together, but I like to mix them up, and I don't usually have similar colors too close to each other. But there we go. Barn to be wild. Fun birthday card. Okay. All right. 2 left. Almost done. Thanks for hanging with me so long. I know this has been longer than average, but it's sure fun to be able to get so much accomplished. Okay. Next card base. We're going to be working on the adorable cow. Here we go. And let's see, that is going to be this sketch number 3 over here. Put that pin back in before things dry up too much. All right, so you can see those gingham buttons in black. They're going to be a great way to tie in the colors of our cow. Get those little pops of black. I did the same thing with my sentiment. So that way you have your sentiment and your embellishments matching. Sometimes that can be a great way to tie in extra colors because there's no black in the paper pad other than the cow print, which would have been fun to use, but I didn't want to make a whole set of 6 cow cards. So didn't use the cow print for this one. But without using a black in any of the papers, pulling them in through the stamping and the embellishing is a great way. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Gotta look at the sketch. This one first. But that's going to be a great way to tie your colors together if they're not necessarily in your papers. A little closer. Okay. And our blue paper. Sometimes I think when I'm creating the sketches that the colors are limiting, and maybe I need to change them up and add more colors, but I don't know. I like them also branded with Queen & Company colors so that everyone knows the minute you see them where they're from. But I wonder sometimes if it makes it hard to visualize them done in other colors. Okay. Because look at the difference between just the feel of this card versus the feel of the sketch. Really, really different. And I don't know, sometimes when I look at a sketch, I'm like, how could I make that a different feel? But it's amazing the power of a few different colors of paper, what they can do here. Oh, let me go a little higher because I forget we have that sentiment strip to put at the bottom. All right, I'm back to one of my new favorite die cuts, this number 23 die cut. Just such a fun frame. Oh, time to buy another bottle of glue. Shh, don't tell anybody I have lots more glue. Don't need to buy any more glue. Just need to get it out. I'll bet I'm not the only one with a nice little stockpile of your favorite adhesive. Anyone else have a pretty decent sized stash somewhere in their craft room or craft space? Okay. Heard you were under the weather. See, that's part of the reason that I picked this sentiment, was not only because it matches so cute with the cow, but also because who couldn't smile when they're not feeling well? And you might be able to hear it in my voice. I've actually had a cold all week. Finally started feeling a lot better yesterday, though. But who wouldn't smile when they're not feeling well? It's such a cute little cow card. There we go. Adorable. I can't decide. I think the pig is my favorite, but the cow comes in pretty close. Maybe occasionally, don't tell Wendy, trumping the pig. But I really like how cute this cow is. Okay, we'll go like that. Get our flowers together. With this particular set of guides, I tried a little harder to give you embellishments with the paper so that you'd be, oh, I layered them. Well, that's kind of cute. Well, no. I want it like the sketch. I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to our sketches. I'm not that good at inventing a different way to use them, to be honest. That's part of the reason I think I like the sketches, is that I don't have to figure anything out. But some of you are so good at adapting them to different things. There we go. And it always amazes me. I'll look at a sketch, and at first I don't see it, and then I look a little closer, I'm like, oh my goodness, look what they did. They totally adapted that sketch in a beautiful way. Okay, now here's our cheerful cow card. Isn't that cute? I love the toppings that Wendy figured out for these sets. Her chickens, her corn, her pigs, her cows. Adorable. Looks great in there. No one would not feel better with a card like that, right? At least a little bit. All right, and that takes us to our last card. We are nearly done. You know the card base, though. All right. Nope, this is going to be another side fold. All right, and this is going to be our cute little piggy card. And this one's really fast to come together because it's just that basic background pieces. And let's start with this one. Okay. Okay, Crystal, I'm reading your comment. My first crop weekend, I ran out of adhesive and we were in the middle of nowhere. And now I always keep a big stockpile of each kind and always take extra with me. Yeah, no kidding. I think that's how we all learn, right? We're in the middle of doing something and we're out. and there's no more to be had. I think I've been there myself, especially with scrapbooking. Not at a crop per se, but I was in the middle of a big project for a CHA event, working with tight deadlines and prototype. You know, prototypes, when you're working with prototypes, oftentimes there's just one. So if you mess it up or screw it up, there's no going back or doing it over. So I was trying to be so careful and try and hurry and get things done under tight deadlines in order to have samples ready for a trade show. And I ran out of a couple of my favorites and had to go with a lot of the least favorites, and that is never a fun moment. But it worked out, and maybe that's part of why my stockpiling was born too. Never going to run out of my favorites ever again. Okay. And stripes. And blue. All right. Probably not perfectly straight, but good enough for now. And this die cut, this number 6 die cut, is also another one of my favorites because it bridges all the way across the card and gives you that great little circular home base to put a shaker. So I just find it really simple and easy to work with. All right, and our little piggy will go right there in the middle. So cute. And again, in order to not clash with the light pink color of the pig and to tie in some of the embellishments, can you see the cute little corn that's in this mix? You got the mud in the brown, and you got the pink pigs, and then you got the cute little corn. I went ahead and pulled in some more yellow in my embellishments and in my stamping, just like I was talking about earlier. So I've got these cute little, these are currently available. These are the, well, I'm going to get the name wrong. Well, there's a bundle with a bunch of flowers. These are in the bundle for sure. And then these actually were from, I think, last year, from the Fun Flowers set. And so they're a little bit bigger, but they're going to help us pull those colors in. And then, of course, I've stamped my sentiment, which says, "Sending you hogs and kisses," in yellow. Nice deep yellow. Well, let's get those embellishments on there. And we'll be finished with all 6 cards. And we'll get them all out together, and you can see how cute they are as a set too. One of my favorite things is looking in the Facebook group and seeing somebody who's done a die guide and just how cute it is to see the whole set all together. All right. And one more flower. This one needs a smaller glue dot. Well, no, it doesn't. Stretch it. So if the glue dot's too big, I'll just kind of bunch it up a little bit. It will still hold it just fine. All right, so flowers on. Let's glue down the sentiment. And let's pull all these cards out together. All right. 1 die guide. 5 pattern piece. I think I'm done talking. 5 pieces of pattern paper. 1 piece of 8.5 by 11 white cardstock. And 6 cards. All done. So, there you go. That is die guide number 4. I hope you guys enjoy using it. Let me zoom in a little bit here. You see that better? Okay. So thanks for joining me today. Happy National Scrapbook Day. I hope you either get some crafting done with card making or scrapbooking or whatever. But it was so fun to have you join me, and I hope that you have a wonderful National Scrapbook Day. Goodbye.